welcome back to the channel. My name's Delano.
What's up, guys? My name is Sean. I'm from Upper New Jersey. This is my 240 Nissan 240 SX 1991. I actually have had this car for about, I want to say, going on 2 years. It's been on the road for a little over a year now. When I first bought it, it was me and two business partners. We started Goomba, and originally we were going to flip these cars. So we went out, picked up 3 in Texas. This was one of the 3. And then that's kind of just where the whole journey started. Obviously, they didn't turn into a flip. It turned into my personal drift car, as the other 2 have their personal cars from the bunch. When I got this car, I want to say it was about 180,000 on it, if I'm not mistaken. I could be a little bit off, but about 180. And now I have 205,000 on it. So since I put this car on the road, I actually put it on the road originally before it looked anywhere close to this. I put it on the road originally to be my daily because I have a truck, and the truck just kills me in gas mileage, and it's expensive because it's a diesel. So this was my daily, and the whole reason that I started tearing into it the way I did, obviously my plans are always a drift car, like once I decided to keep it, but the reason that I actually started working on it to the degree that I did is because the clutch failed when I was leaving my house to go to a friend's party. So as soon as that happened, I knew I had to pull the engine out, and then this car had a bunch of evap leaks and all that good stuff, so I had rough idle. So I wanted to clean up all the vacuum hoses and redo everything, re-seal the engine, all that good stuff. So yeah, over the winter, after I pulled the engine, the main things I tackled was oil pump, because I was having some oil pressure issues on startup, so I knew something was wrong there. So I took the oil pan off, took the front case off, valve cover obviously, went through everything. New main seals in the front and the rear, new oil pump, just cleaned everything up, did all the new vacuum hoses, got rid of all the things that these cars come with that you don't need and cause issues. And then one of the things I do regret to a little bit of degree, because it is one of my daily cars, is I deleted the IAC system, which controls your idle when the car is cold and even when it's hot as well. So the way that works is just it uses coolant temperatures with a sensor to idle, like to open and close the throttle body. So when I start this car in the cold, obviously I gotta give it a little bit of fuel for a little bit till it warms up, till it'll actually idle on its own. So that's the one thing that I do kind of wish I didn't do, but still happy I did because it's meant to be a drift car. But from there, once the engine was back in and we cleaned it all up, I obviously painted the engine bay, as you guys have seen, and just made it pretty. From there, it was time to try and get the car ready for a track car, because that's the whole reason I have this car. So once the engine was in, worked out some bugs, and I actually was able to drive it. The kit was not this kit. There's a separate kit on this car that I started with, and then I kind of moved on to the suspension components. So the car was an open rear end, so I welded the diff so this way both wheels would spin, obviously, when I'm trying to drift. That was the main thing. And when I had the diff out, I did all ISR arms just to kind of keep it within budget, because my whole goal with this car was to spend the least amount possible on it and use the least amount of parts and learn how to drift a car that is as close to stock as possible. That's why I didn't do any engine upgrades other than making it run right and all that good stuff. I didn't do turbo. I didn't do anything because I'm forcing myself to kind of earn the upgrades that a car has, because the more you learn how to manipulate a stock horsepower car as a drift car, the better you're going to be. If you have more horsepower, you can get away with a lot more, make a lot more mistakes. So this is bone stock car, just made the engine bay pretty, got rid of some stuff that I didn't need, and then obviously did the body kit and all that good stuff. So with that, I was trying not to spend a lot of money on suspension either. So with the suspension, all we have is some eBay Megan's Racing coilovers that came on the car. So they're definitely worn out and shot. And that'll probably be one of the more major upgrades I do once I'm ready to start doing some more suspension stuff. The front end is all eBay adjustable arms. Like I said, same thing. Just wanted to keep it cheap and not go too crazy with it yet. The only angle I have for this car is I have offset steering rack spacers, and that gives you just, I want to say, 10 more degrees of rotation. So it has a little bit of angle, but not too much. Then that's pretty much it for suspension. Like I said, all the ISR in the back, everything's solid mounted in this car. So you can probably hear in the GoPro footage, the interior is real loud when we drive just because of all the vibrations. Everything's solid mounted to the car. Another thing that I probably will never do again, I'm probably going to change that once I pull the engine again. Just because it's a little bit ridiculous to drive on the street every day. Backstory of how I kind of got into cars. So I actually grew up racing. I think I started, first thing I ever did like motorsport wise was probably snowmobiling and dirt biking at a very young age. One of my like funniest memories I have is when I was a kid, my dad got me like this little 50 dirt bike, and the first time I got on it, I want to say I had training wheels, or maybe it didn't, I don't remember that part, but I got on it and then I was riding it, and as soon as I started riding it, I like looked back to my whole family watching me because I was like excited that I was driving on my own, and they're all like waving at me. I thought in excitement, but I looked forward and I hit a tree, and then I was scared to get on the dirt bike for a long time after that because I was pretty young. I forget exactly what my age was, but probably like 4 years old, if that. So yeah, that was my first experience with that, and then kind of got into snowmobiling and stuff like that. My family's big into snowmobiling, so my dad, one of his favorite sports. So that's kind of what got me into just motorsports. And then from there, my dad actually brought me to a go-kart track, not a go-kart, but a quarter midget track when I was somewhere around 9 years old. Our friend, one of his friend's sons used to race them, and he wanted to get me into racing. So that's what kind of started my whole love for cars. And then I raced quarter midgets till I was about 12 years old. And then from there, I moved up to dirt late models and when I first started dirt late models and got into it my first time, I was only 14 years old. So I was actually too young to race in the US. So I moved, or I didn't move, but we would trailer our car all the way up to, I want to say it was Cumberstone, Canada, because the age limit there was only 14. So I was able to race there. So that was my first time getting a late models at 14, racing with like dudes that were 35 and up, been doing this their whole life type thing. And then from there, once I got my driver's license, I was old enough to race in the US in New Jersey. So then my home track was New Egypt Speedway for my first year in the US racing. And then we picked up a second car. So I had a, what they call a 604 crate late model, which is the engine that's in it. It's a full sealed GM engine that only certain engine builders are allowed to touch to kind of keep the car in spec and make sure there's no modifications that aren't allowed to be. And then I got a second car that was a 358. And my first year getting that is the year that I decided to stop racing. So we just had tons of issues with the second car, and I was still young. I was only 17 years old at the time, and just typical teenager and father issues, just a lot of fighting, and then the car never working, us arguing every weekend. I kind of got tired of it and didn't want to do it anymore. So I decided to pull out of it, and then I got out of cars since I was 17 all the way up until 23 years old. I want to say 22 or 23. I want to say 23 years old is when I started my other car for the first time, because even in that big span that I stopped getting on the cars and did my own thing for a while, I still always had a love for cars. I always wanted to modify them, but then I just never had the time and money because I was doing other things. But like, it was a daily thing on my mind of wanting to have a car, wanting to have a cool street car that I could bang gears in and race and all that good stuff. But like I said, I just didn't have the money as a kid, and all my money went to the other hobbies that I was doing at the time, like bodybuilding, all that good stuff. I finally decided at 23 that like I couldn't keep pushing off my passion, my love for this stuff. Like, this cars are my release, like driving cars and being on track, all that stuff is like what makes me happy. So just not having that for a long period of my life kind of affected me mentally for a while, and then getting back into them has just been my freedom that I needed for a long time. Just something to clear my mind when I'm overthinking or when I'm too stressed out and everything seems to be kind of crumbling down on me. Just getting in the car kind of releases all of that. So that's what got me started into it. And this was actually not my first car that I started building. I have a Camaro that unfortunately the engine is toasted right now, and I have to rebuild probably next year when I'm done messing with this car. But that was my first car that I got into in 2021. And I started building, and then this car, like I said, was about a year ago when I started building that. And then I decided to not make the Camaro my track car, and this was a more desirable chassis to use for racing and drifting, just because of the aftermarket. So like aftermarket parts that are available for this car to do any kind of racing you want to do. So one of the biggest reasons Aston chassis are so popular is because they've been a drift car. One of the reasons that I chose this chassis is because of how many aftermarket parts are available for this car. Whether obviously drifting is really big for S chassis, and there's endless parts you could do for these cars, endless swaps, engine swaps, anything you want. Like, this car can be completely customized to whatever you want to do. Even if you want to do autocross, road course, there's parts for everything that are fully adjustable, and you pretty much do whatever you want to the car. So that's why I chose this chassis to kind of be my first car to get back into driving competitively and getting on the track. Like I said, the Camaro was supposed to be that, but then I crashed the Camaro drifting one night and realized quickly how hard it was to get parts for that car and how limited my options were to upgrade it for drifting. And then the amount of time and stuff I put into that car, just kind of, I was like, I don't know if I want to beat this up on the track every weekend and have to try and fix it. Where these, I can find fenders, bumpers, whatever I want all day on Marketplace, or just order brand new. So that's what made me choose this chassis. And just, I kind of had a love for these cars once I saw them. Before I got back in the cars, like I said, I was always looking at them, always thinking about them, wanting to build a car. I actually started seeing S chassis on Pinterest. So I started saving different ones I liked and stuff like that. So that's actually what got me into S chassis. So I actually bought one from one of my boys that we started the business together with, that I bought this car with. I actually bought his old S13 just like this, but I had no engine or trans. I was going to put one of my dirt late model engines in there because I had one left over. And when we started our business, we ran out of money quickly, because when we started our business, we all decided as a group that we wanted to put our backs against the wall and not work for nobody else and do our own thing and go through the struggles and make it happen. So during that time, I had to sell a lot of stuff, dirt bikes, my car, all that good stuff. Luckily, I never sold my Camaro, even though I almost did it, because that would have sucked, because that car's my baby. But I did have an S chassis, and then this is my second one. That one, unfortunately, I never got to work on or drive, but that's what got me into this. So we are here today. So moving on to like the actual exterior mods, we went through the suspension. Like I said, there's nothing crazy. It's all very simple right now. Everything's adjustable, but it's nothing high end or anything yet. Moving on to the exterior, this is a Rocket Bunny type kit. So it's not real Rocket Bunny, because those kits are like $6,000 from Japan, and I don't really care that much to have a real kit. I actually bought this kit for $700 off of Facebook Marketplace. I didn't want to go this wide, because the wider you go, it is a little bit more difficult to drift the car, especially with a stock car, because obviously I have to run wider tires and all that good stuff to make the fitment. So it wasn't my first option, but once I saw it, I didn't really want to turn up the opportunity to not get one. And I couldn't find the over fenders I wanted for the front, because my front wheels were a little bit poking out of the stock fenders, and my front stock fenders were rusty and all that good stuff. I didn't plan to get this kit, but just kind of fell into my hands and worked out well. So other than the Rocket Bunny kit, it didn't look anything like this when I got it. I had to do a lot of fiberglass repair with one of my boys, obviously the paint. We got some GK Tech, what are these? They're reps of, I can't even think of the word right now. These are like a very desirable Japanese mirror style, but they're reps, they're not the real ones. So I only spent like 130 on these, and you get what you pay for it. They're not the greatest, but at least they look somewhat cool. We got the Yeo Wolf little visors for a little added style to match the chrome. These here are just quick clips, so if I just cut these zip ties and then I take 4 bolts off to the top of the bumper, I could take the whole bumper off to get it onto trailers easier. Other than that, on the exterior, that's really it. Obviously, we got tints by Superior Class Wraps. It's my boy that tints and stuff like that. I ended up buying my chrome tint before I was planning on having him do it. But I bought this and I bought it the wrong size. That's why if you guys see in the video, it's cut. So I had him order me the right size. We just haven't got around to putting it in yet because I work far away and it's hard for me to kind of set times with people. So that's going to get fixed by my boy. He did the rest of the tint, he killed it, but I messed up on the front tint. We got our bash bars. I have Drift Armor bash bars in the front and rear. So the front you really can't see because of the bumper, but the rear I don't run a rear bumper. Everything's painted. It's seaside blue, literally from Home Depot. That's the color I picked, and then I just clear coated them with actual car clear coat to seal the color in and make it look a little bit better and not chip so easy. On the exterior, that's really it. We got some Ford Mustang wheels in the front, SVEs. If you didn't know, Ford Mustangs have 5x114 just like all your Japanese cars, so they usually have some pretty good offsets for the Mustangs. So if you want to buy some cheap wheels, SVE is the move. In the rear, we have Kansai's. I forget what actual like model this is, but these are just temp wheels. My plan is to go 3-piece, but I have some more work to do with the engine bay. I have to tub the front end to go any wider because right now I already rub in the wheel wells just because of how wide the kit is. So in order for me to go wider and get the appropriate wheels to get the appropriate fitment for this car, I have to tub the whole front end. So I'm gonna have to pull the engine again, tub it, weld everything, repaint it, and then get it all back together. So that's why my fitment's kind of trash right now. I don't plan on staying like this, it's just temporary. But that, I want to say, sums up the outside for the most part. The taillights are just eBay taillights. They're like Type X style because Type X taillights are almost like $1,500 right now from Japan. So I didn't feel like spending that bread on the car that I'm going to drift and probably crash a couple times pretty soon. So we cheaped out there. And that's really it on the outside that I could think of. Obviously, like I said before, I painted this car. Before it was all mismatched rattle cans, looked terrible. So I have hours and hours into the body work to get this kit to fit right, to get all the issues worked out with the body because this car is actually crashed when I bought it. So that whole rear quarter was smashed in, and if he got any of the clips of the inside in the hatch, you can kind of see where it's crushed in a little bit. So this car was actually crashed. One of the other reasons why I didn't try to push to sell it when we first bought it, just because the value of the car went down extremely once I figured out that it was crashed in the rear. So that was a nice little thing to have to work around when doing the body work and stuff. So that's why you see in the rear, I actually have my wide body on top of stock overs. So those overs are just to replace the stock quarters because, like I said, these are known to be drift cars. So people crash the stock bodies and they're all bacon looking. So people buy overs and just slap on top. So actually a Rocket Bunny kit, as you see in the front fender, mounts directly to the metal front fender. So you cut it, mount the kit. That's how it's supposed to be in the rear as well, but my rear looks like crap. So I actually just mounted it to the fiberglass overs and then used riv nuts to mount the whole over on top. So this way all my stuff can come off very easy and very quickly for whatever reason, if I need to work on something or if I need to repair fiberglass, whatever it is. But that's pretty much for the outside. A lot of things I learned when doing this kit is that this kit is not an easy kit to install. It's probably one of the hardest ones because you have to modify a lot of the chassis. So both sides, driver and passenger side, I had to cut the wheel wells and then remake new pieces and weld them further back in because of this little cutout here, the kit, and that's all right next to your ECU and all your management systems where your wiring harnesses all connect to each other. So all my ECU and everything else, my body control module, all that stuff had to get moved back a little bit on the interior, and I had to weld in all those plates. So it was more involved than I planned on, for sure. The paint is just I put probably, I want to say I put 4 layers of filler primer, sanded it out, then I put 3 coats of just white paint. I think it was called Super White, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the brand. And then I did 2 coats of white pearl from Mippa, and then I did 3 coats of Mippa's clear coat, and that's where we're at now. It's not wet sanded or anything yet, so it still has a little bit of stuff in the paint. I did it in my dad's garage, so it's a little bit dusty, and then all the pieces that I had off the car I did in a carport that's outside. So it wasn't the best environment for paint to be the cleanest, but all I kept telling myself is it's a drift car, I'm going to crash it anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Moving on to the interior, nothing fancy. I haven't really gone crazy in here yet because this car does have some leaks that I got to fix. So like the carpet, I'm sure you saw on the other clips, depending on what was captured, you can see the carpet's a little discolored and kind of dirty looking. So this car's got a lot of leaks in it that I'm slowly like finding and figuring out. So I'm not going crazy with making the interior nice yet, because if I put money into the interior, it's probably gonna get ruined by the water. So once that's all figured out, I'll go further with it. But right now we just got some bride reps just to kind of make the car look nicer from the inside. I'm gonna have to order seats that actually fit me because these are way too small for me. So I'm like crammed in this car right now. We have some Street Faction bucket mounts for the seats, which I had to modify for me because I think they were for like a super tall person, which my boy that I took them from, he's like 6'4". So I'm pretty sure he ordered like the tall versions. So I had to like modify the crap out of it to get it to where I could fit. Other than that, I have a lot of like little pieces. If you saw in the in-car, I have brand new wiper motor and the headlight motor like switches, all your, whatever they're called, I forget the name of them. But those are actually brand new from Nismo, or from Nissan, because of my boy Dylan from Nismo Parts Plug. He hooks me up with all my like OEM parts that I need. So anything that was kind of wore out or started failing on me when it came down to like sensors, switches, all that good stuff, I bought from him and he hooked it up. So we got a lot of little bits from him and this car to make it like more complete. We're still stock seatbelts at work. It like retracts here and all that good stuff. No 5-point harness yet, nothing. I have the only thing like suspension wise in the back you can see, because I have the interior out right now, just for that same reason, to try to find leaks. I have a strut brace by I don't know who. I have it from a parts car, and that's pretty much it with exterior, interior, and suspension work. Like I said earlier, even though the engine bay is all pretty and it looks like I might have did engine work, car is completely stock minus a catback exhaust. For the same reason earlier, like I said, my goal is to max out the setup before I reward myself with actual performance parts. So once I can drive the piss out of this car on a drift track and learn how to manipulate a stock car, then I'll put a turbo, do the hydro, do the dual caliber setup. Jeez, I'll do all that good stuff. But like I said, I want to learn to drive a stock car, learn to manipulate the car, and build my skill set. Because with horsepower, you can correct a lot of things. With a handbrake, you can correct a lot of things. So I'd rather learn the skill set, and then as my skills move up, I build the car further. So that's really the only mods I've done to this. Even though it looks like it's wide body and it's probably got a lot of horsepower, this car literally probably makes not even 150 to the wheel. Very slow, very stock, nothing special about that. So it just looks cool when it's driving and when it's sideways, but it's not making no beans. The car, like I said, is my daily, so it has been very reliable, even though this car I did need to work a lot of bugs out of. You gotta remember, it's got 200,000 miles on it. The owners before it kind of hacked up wiring, kind of hacked up engine stuff. Like I said, like they had the whole engine bay rattle can and stuff. They're in there playing around with stuff. So I fixed a lot of the wiring. I used wiring specialties like connectors and rewired a lot of connectors to clean things up to make sure I wasn't having any resistance issues on any of my wires, especially with like my MAF sensors, my distributor, my injectors, because I still was working out some idling issues. So really, other than me trying to make the car run right and get it to be 100% perfect on that side, it has been very reliable. I drive the car everywhere. I used to drive, when I worked for a different company, I used to drive an hour to work one way. So I was driving about almost 3 hours every day, depending on traffic. And this car is pretty much my main transportation. And it's been like that for like a year and a half. The car is very reliable. I'm a big KA fan. A lot of people hate KAs, but to me, they're the most reliable engine when it comes into like what comes in this car, because you have the SR or the KA. They're way more reliable than a SR. Don't care what anyone says. They produce way more power than a SR. Still don't care what anyone says. And they're just way cheaper to build. I could build this car for 400 horsepower like my S14 is, and it would probably cost me, if I did all the work, which I do all my own work, if I did all the work, it would probably cost me not even $5,000 in parts, and I could have a 400 horsepower wheel car completely refreshed. So I'm just a big believer in the KAs. They get down. They really have very minimal issues. Oiling system's awesome. They're super torquey. They don't have rocker arms like the SRs, which SRs break a ton of rocker arms. And they make power easy just because they're 2.4 liter, so they're a little bit bigger. They're iron block. They can handle boost good. You could really push these cars with a stock bottom end to about, I would say, 400 horsepower, and then from there you'd want to start building the bottom end. And obviously that depends on mileage of the engine too. Like I have 205,000 miles on it, so I wouldn't want to build 400 horsepower on this bottom end right now. It's probably a little tired for sure. It's just, to me, a very good platform. I think they sound great, especially when turboed with the right exhaust. Just all around, I prefer it, and that's definitely the unpopular opinion for sure. But you see them a lot more now, and they're just way cheaper to build, way easier to get your hands on. And even like when you guys see my engine bay, I think they look really clean when you clean up some of the garbage that they come from the factory. And if I had a fat turbo on it and a nice big intercooler in the front, it would look even way cooler. So just my preference on that. If I wasn't going to go KA, it would 100% be an LS, because I'm a big LS guy. Once again, really reliable, easy to make power, and cheap to build. Those are the three things that matter, and they sound absolutely amazing. So reliable, very. Still never been tuned. Everything's stock ECU, never been touched, never been played with. I have been thinking about getting it tuned. I've been thinking about getting it tuned just to kind of help with, maybe that could be some of my idling issues and stuff like that, or anything a little here, maybe clean it up, get some little power out of it. But haven't tampered with that at all in the car. Like I said, runs good. My favorite mods so far, that's kind of a hard one because there's not any cool mods on this car at the moment. I'd have to say my favorite mod so far would be the welded diff, because then I get to drift it. Without that, I wouldn't be drifting. So definitely my favorite mod I've done. Other than that would just be suspension, to be able to get the car low and not look like a grandmother's car. So those two things would have to be my favorite. When it comes to maintenance of these cars, it's very simple. I just change the oil. Replace the fuel filter every once in a while. That's really it. I bolt check this car not pretty often anymore, but when I was working the kinks out, I had to bolt check it a lot because of all the solid mounts and KAs do not come with a balanced bottom end. So when you have a solid mount car with an unbalanced bottom end, there's a lot of vibration, which tends to loosen up a lot of bolts. So I'd say I probably bolt check this car once a month since I drive it daily, and then oil changes every 5 to 8,000. I tend to push it sometimes, and then that's it. Change fuel filter every couple oil changes. That's really all I gotta do to this car. And like I said, I slide it, I beat on it, I drive it nice and fast as it can go, and it just handles it. So other than that, there's really not much maintenance than trying to clean it when I can, and that's it. Anyone that's looking to get into an S chassis, I would say it's definitely a good choice. I think they're great cars if you want to learn how to work on cars yourselves. If you don't want to work on a car yourself, it might not be your best option, just because they are getting a lot older now, and most of the cars have been played with or crashed or something. Like they're a known drift car. They are obviously haven't been in production for a long time, and people just beat the piss out of them and done dumb stuff to them. So they're definitely going to require your love and like correction for sure. So if you don't want to learn to work on your own cars and you're just going to end up paying someone to do mods and stuff like that, probably not your best platform. But if you're somebody that wants to learn how to work on your car, this car has literally taught me everything I know with car. Not everything, but I'm very confident in learning in building cars now, and it's all from this. You know, like I had knowledge from racing and stuff like that when I was younger, but a lot of that knowledge is just from watching my dad do things. This is my first car that I've gone to this degree in. My Camaro taught me a lot too, but I never pulled the engine out of the Camaro or had to really figure any wiring out or anything like that. This car has taught me a lot, and that's just because it's a pretty simple platform, and it's old, so it needs love, and it just kind of forces you to troubleshoot and figure things out. That's what I would have to say if you want to get into S13. I think it's worth it. I think they're cool. You don't see them much anymore, but it's definitely going to require some attention for sure. So watch out for that one. Future plans with this car, like I said before, as my driving skills increase, I'll reward myself with better upgrades. So I plan on keeping the car minus getting the fitment correct and stuff like that. Other than that, I plan on keeping this car exactly how it is and drifting the piss out of it next year and becoming a very good driver with a stock car. Once I think that I put the right time in, I think my skill deserves it. It will be getting the engine pulled again. I'll be rebuilding the bottom end, doing head studs, and I'll be getting a small turbo. I'm not going to go crazy. It's going to be a small turbo setup, intercooler, all that good stuff. Obviously, that comes with turbo in your car, better fuel system. I'll be doing a hydro. I have 300ZX brakes for this car, but I don't need them right now. So I'll put those in with a dual caliber setup with the handbrake. And other than that, that'll pretty much be my next mods for my car, for this car, for the future. And then from there, it's gonna be the same thing. Drive that setup until I feel like I've earned the next stage, and that would be bigger turbo, more power. And then my final addition of this car is only going to be like, I would say, a 300 to 350 horsepower car, because I want this car to remain my seat time car and something that I could get in and drive. It's reliable. It doesn't burn through fuel like crazy. It doesn't burn through tires like crazy. And I can get in, shred, put laps in, and get a lot of seat time without a lot of hassle. So that's kind of the goal of this car. And that's what my future plans are. I'm probably going to take this kit off and put it on what I would consider my more competition S13 once I get to build that. And that would be my car that I go all out in, do higher horsepower, do all the crazy stuff. But this car, I plan on keeping my seat time car for the life of it. And maybe that might change one day, but as of right now, KA, turboed, reliable, 300, 350 horsepower, and that's all I need with this car. It'll be fun on the street, fun on the track, make cool noises, and that's really all I got for that. Really, that's it. That pretty much covers the whole car. I hope you guys love it. I hope you guys appreciate it. Definitely watch my boy's videos. He has tons of videos up. He does this stuff all the time. He's definitely got some cool stuff up. So I'm excited to see what he builds with this video and his future videos. So definitely check him out. You can check out my Instagram. I'm sure he posted it up on his clips. Goomba is my brand with my 2 business partners, and we're just a culture brand that believes in chasing your goals and doing shit we love. So that's for us cars, but for you, it could be whatever you like. And yeah, we got a YouTube channel. Goomba's got a YouTube channel where you could see this car get built for the most part. We missed some of it, but for a broad range of it, you kind of see like the process of getting it here. And then you're going to see all my future builds, a Camaro, the next stages in this, whatever you want to see. My boy's car, he's got a S13.5 that we just pulled the SR out of, and it's getting fully built right now. So you're going to see that car come to life pretty soon. My S14, I'm rebuilding the engine. So there's just a lot of stuff that's going to be going on in our channel. So just check all of us out. That's it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.